Although it's a fantasy film, this film, this Miss Peregrine, seems to me like a very relevant film today because we live in an era that seems ruled, dominated by bullies, even at its highest level. Yeah. And so it's like the hollows have taken possession of our lives.
Yeah. No, well, that's one of the things that was important to me because especially now with social media, and that kind of is gotten so extreme. I mean, people can say horrible things about anybody without any repercussions, and that is horrible. And you see it all the time with kids and what they have to deal with. So for me, when somebody says somebody's peculiar, I think that that's a good thing. I think that's something that shows that they're either sensitive, artistic, or maybe slightly different from other people, but still basically good people.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I think that for me too, being peculiar is an asset, not a flaw. Yeah. But nowadays there's a lot of pressure on young kids, especially, to be all the same.
It's something that's really, it's a bit frightening because, I see kids that, they think, oh, well, I'm not good or I'm not popular because I don't have this many hits on the internet, and they judge their own worth by their internet popularity, which is quite disturbing to me.
And do you know, how can we find an antidote to that? Culture, art, movies?
I don't know. Well, movies are still safe because they allow you to watch it. They're not, even though, it's not like a video game where it's kind of playing you and you're playing it. This you're able to, like all great cinema to me is like a weird dream. And it allows you to sort of think about things and respond to things without it, being so intense. And I think that's why it's still a beautiful art form, and it needs to be protected because, now you'll be able to watch movies on your phone and do this and that and read all about the movie as you're watching it. It's too much, the sense of poetry and mystery is sort of gone away, and it needs to be kept.
I agree. And this is a fantasy. Like all good fantasy, it's also a coming-of-age story. And there's the eternal fight between good and evil. Let's talk about these villains. I found them very interesting, both visually, because they reminded me of the Slender Man or Sandman because they eat the eyes, and both because they're empty, their emptiness. Yeah. Can you tell me how you approach them?
Well, that's why I took, just in the book they're called hollows, and I just thought that's a great word, and we were designing things and it sort of went back to, because once you start doing monsters, they start to just look like monsters. And I like the fact that they still had their sort of humanity, still wearing their clothes, and even though they're bigger and ripped up, that there's still kind of a blank humanity to them. And they, to me, sort of represent the kind of weird, blank evil that's sort of taking over.
Yeah. And since talking about with my daughter or the daughters of my friends, I realized that you're an idol to most of them. Really, they know your films by heart. And so, can you give them an advice? There was a moment in your life when you had difficulty, you had to struggle to assert yourself.
Yes, all the time. I mean, still, the thing is you still go through that. And I think it's just the thing you always try to do is try not to respond too much to other people saying things. As long as you feel in your heart that you're a good person and you do the best you can. And, sometimes when people call you names, it's because they're either jealous of you or they want to put you in a category because you have some sort of personal power, and so that's a good thing. You have a quiet, personal, sensitive, artistic spirit, then you'll be okay.
Yeah, and your relationships with your relation with technology, how much CGI affected your work on movies, because you did stop motion. It's an art form. CGI too much, it can remove the...
You can do both. I mean, we did some stop motion in this, the whole doll fight stop motion. A lot of it has to do with time. Obviously, stop motion takes quite a lot of time. But I think they both have their valuable things. I mean, I work a lot with computers, and that can be great, But I still do like the old-fashioned handmade technology.
And don't you think that they're exaggerating the movies today with CGI too much? I think they can remove yourself from the story.
It can be. That's why I like seeing a movie. You'd see an old James Bond movie. You'd see they actually doing the stunts and all. There is something exciting, and I do think people, even in a new generation, still get the sense when they see something like a real guy doing a stunt versus an old CG stunt. I think you can tell.